Today I am going to teach about the esophagus and superior vena cava. First of all, I'll start with esophagus topic. Okay. Coming to the esophagus introduction, the esophagus is a narrow muscular tube, okay, forming the food passage between the pharynx and stomach. The esophagus is approximately about 25 centimeters long. The pharyngo-esophageal junction is the narrowest part of the alimentary canal except for the vermiform appendix. Okay, so actually this esophagus, which it is a narrow muscular tube, okay, and passage of food which it is lying in between the pharynx and stomach. Okay, so it is about 25 centimeters long. The pharyngo-esophageal junction is the narrowest part of the alimentary canal. Coming to the curvatures, okay, so it has two types of curvatures, okay. One is side to side curvature, both are towards the left. It also has antero-posterior curvatures, okay. So these are two types of curvature. First type is that side to side curvatures, both are towards the left, okay, and it also has antero-posterior curvatures that corresponds to the curvatures of the cervicothoracic spine. Cervicothoracic spine. Constrictions. Normally the esophagus shows 4 constrictions. How many constrictions? 4 constrictions, okay, by 4 levels, okay. So first level is that at its beginning 15 centimeters, otherwise 6 inch from the incisor teeth, okay. So that is the first level. Coming to the second one, it is crossed by the aortic arch. 22.5 centimeters, otherwise 9 inch from the incisor teeth. Third one, it is crossed by the left bronchus, 27.5 centimeters, otherwise 11 inch from the incisor teeth. Last one, where it pierces the diaphragm, 37.5 centimeters, otherwise 15 inch from the incisor teeth. Coming to the blood supply, within that blood supply, arterial supply and venous drainage. Arterial and venous, okay. So arterial supply, that is divides into 3 parts. One is cervical part, second one thoracic, third one abdominal part. Otherwise upper part, middle part and lower part. Upper, middle and lower part. Coming to the cervical part is supplied by inferior thyroid arteries. Cervical part by inferior thyroid arteries. Thoracic part is supplied by the esophageal branches of the aorta. Thoracic part is by esophageal branches of the aorta. Coming to the abdominal part, which it is supplied by the esophageal branches of the left gastric artery. Okay, cervical part by inferior thyroid and thoracic part by esophageal, and abdominal part which it is supplied by esophageal branches of the left gastric artery. Coming to the venous drainage, upper part which it is drains into the brachiocephalic vein, middle part into the azygos vein, and lower part which it is drains into the left gastric vein and vena azygos, okay. So upper part into the brachiocephalic, middle part into the azygos veins and lower part into the left gastric vein, otherwise so and vena azygos, okay. So this is about the blood supply of the esophagus. Coming to the lymphatic drainage. So within that, cervical part drains into the deep cervical group of lymph nodes. Deep cervical group of lymph nodes. Thoracic part into the posterior mediastinal nodes. Posterior mediastinal nodes. Abdominal part into the left gastric nodes. Abdominal part into the left gastric nodes. Okay, cervical part which it is drains into the deep cervical group of lymph nodes. Thoracic part into the posterior mediastinal group of lymph nodes, and abdominal part into the left gastric nodes. Okay. So next, coming to the nerve supply, which it is divides into parasympathetic and sympathetic. Parasympathetic and sympathetic supply. Parasympathetic nerves are sensory, motor and secretomotor to the esophagus. Okay. Sensory, motor and secretomotor to the esophagus. Next, sympathetic nerves. These are vasomotor in nature. Okay. So sympathetic nerves are vasomotor in nature, but parasympathetics are sensory, motor and secretomotor, but sympathetics are vasomotor in nature. Coming to the clinical anatomy, applied anatomy. Left atrial enlargement, as in mitral stenosis, can also be visualized by barium swallow. Okay, left atrial enlargement as in mitral stenosis can also be visualized by barium swallow. The enlarged atrium causes a shallow depression. Okay, enlarged atrium causes shallow depression on the front of the esophagus, Okay, so that's why barium swallow also helps in the diagnosis of esophageal strictures, okay, and carcinoma and achalasia cardia. Okay, barium swallow will helpful in diagnosis of esophageal strictures and carcinoma and achalasia cardia. Next, last one, that is normal indentations on the esophagus should be kept in mind during esophagoscopy. Okay, so first one, so that is the atrial enlargement as in mitral stenosis can also be visualized by barium swallow. The enlarged atrium causes a shallow depression on the front of the esophagus. Barium swallow also helpful in diagnosis of barium esophageal strictures, carcinoma and achalasia cardia. The normal indentations on the esophagus should be kept in mind during esophagoscopy. So coming to this indentations, okay. So this is the first indentation is mainly that is caused by the aortic arch. Okay, here we can see this. Okay, so here that is the first indentation is mainly by the arch of aorta. Next, coming to the second indentation is mainly by the left bronchus. Okay, here also we can see left bronchus indentation. Next, third one, that is the, so this indentation is mainly by the left atrium. Same thing we can see here, there is the left atrium. Okay, so these are all the indentations by, one is aortic arch indent because of the aortic arch, second one by the left bronchus and other one by the left atrium. Okay, so these are all the indentations of the esophagus. Coming to the esophageal varices. Okay, so these esophageal varices here we can see. So these esophageal varices mainly formed by the injury of portosystemic anastomosis. Okay, injury of portosystemic anastomosis is gives rise to formation of hematemesis. Otherwise, so that is in the formation of esophageal varices because of the injury of portosystemic anastomosis is also gives rise to hematemesis. Okay, so this is about the applied anatomy of the esophagus. Okay, can we summarize? So esophagus, okay, so esophagus is a narrow muscular tube forming the food passage okay, 25 centimeters long, and it is the narrowest part of the alimentary canal. Curvatures are side to side curvatures, which are both are towards the left, and it also has antero-posterior curvatures that corresponds to the curvatures of the cervicothoracic spine. And constrictions are, okay, so constrictions, normally esophagus shows 4 constrictions, okay. So first one is at its beginning 15 centimeters and otherwise 6 inch from the incisor teeth, and second one, it is crossed by the aortic arch 22.5 centimeters, otherwise 9 inch from the incisor teeth, and third one, it is crossed by the left bronchus 27.5 centimeters, otherwise 11 inch from the incisor teeth, and last one, it passes the diaphragm, that is 37.5 centimeters, otherwise 15 inch from the incisor teeth. So blood supply, arterial supply, okay, so cervical part by the inferior thyroid, thoracic part by the esophageal branches of the aorta, abdominal part is supplied by the esophageal branches of left gastric artery. Venous drainage, upper part into the brachiocephalic veins and middle part into the azygos veins, and lower part which it is drains into the left gastric vein and vena azygos. Okay, lymphatic drainage, upper part into the deep cervical group of lymph nodes, thoracic part into the posterior mediastinal, and abdominal part into the left gastric nodes. Okay, so nerve supply, parasympathetic nerves are sensory, motor and secretomotor to the esophagus, and sympathetic nerves are vasomotor in nature. So coming to the clinical anatomy, so mainly barium swallow also helps in the diagnosis of esophageal strictures, carcinoma and ectasia cardia, and formation of normal indentations on the esophagus should be kept in mind during the esophagoscopy. So these are all the indentations already we discussed. So esophageal varices, okay, so injury of the portosystemic anastomosis gives rise to hematemesis and formation of esophageal varices. So coming to the second topic, that is superior vena cava, superior vena cava. So here we can see, so this is the superior vena cava. Coming to the introduction of this superior vena cava, okay, so it is about 7 centimeters long and 1.25 centimeters in diameter, okay, 7 centimeters long and 1.25 centimeters in diameter. It lies in the superior and middle mediastinum. It lies in the superior and middle mediastinum. Okay, so this superior and middle mediastinum, so these are all the extrapericardial and intrapericardial parts. Okay, so its extrapericardial part lies in the superior mediastinum. Okay, extrapericardial part is the superior mediastinum, and its intrapericardial part, which it is lies in the middle mediastinum. Okay, so extrapericardial superior mediastinum, intrapericardial within the middle mediastinum. It collects blood from the upper half of the body and drains into the right atrium. Okay, so it collects the blood from the upper half of the body and drains it into the right atrium. Okay, what are the parts which are included within the upper half of the body? That is head and neck, upper limbs, thoracic wall and upper abdomen. Coming to the formation, course and termination of this superior vena cava. Okay, so first of all we will start with formation. So it is formed at lower border of right first costal cartilage. Okay, right first costal cartilage by the union of right and left brachiocephalic veins. Okay, formation is mainly by the right and left brachiocephalic veins. Okay, so here we can see this. So here there will be a right and left brachiocephalic veins together form a superior vena cava here. That is the formation at the first costal cartilage. This is the first costal cartilage. Here there will be a formation of superior vena cava. It passes vertically downwards behind the right border of the sternum. It passes vertically downwards behind the right border of the sternum and pierces the pericardium at the level of the right second costal cartilage. Okay, so course is that, so here there will be a sternum which it is present. Okay, so it is vertically downwards like this, just behind to the right border of the sternum, and it pierces the pericardium at the level of right second costal cartilage. Here there will be a, so this is the first costal cartilage is the formation. Here there will be a second costal cartilage is mainly for the piercing of the pericardium, And finally, coming to the termination, it terminates into the upper part of the right atrium at the lower border of the right third costal cartilage. Here there will be a termination. So this is the third costal cartilage. Okay, here there will be a termination. Okay, so it terminates into the upper part of the right atrium at the lower border of the right third costal cartilage. Okay, so it is formed at the right and left brachiocephalic veins. Okay, at the lower border of the first costal cartilage. Okay, so course is that, so vertically downwards just behind to the right border of the sternum, and here there will be a piercing of this pericardium at the level of second costal cartilage. Okay, so termination which it is into the right atrium at the lower border of the third costal cartilage. Okay, so this is about the formation, course and termination of the superior vena cava. Coming to the subdivisions, these are 2 in number. Already we discussed, that is extrapericardial part, intrapericardial part. Extrapericardial part in superior mediastinum, intrapericardial part within the middle mediastinum. Okay, so these two are the subdivisions. Coming to the relations. Okay, so first relations, that is anterior relations are, so here there will be a superior vena cava which it is present. Okay, here there is the superior vena cava. Okay, here there is a superior vena cava. So anteriorly which it is in related to the internal thoracic vessels and right lung and its pleura. Okay, anteriorly which it is in related to the right internal thoracic vessels, margin of right lung and pleura, and also chest wall. Okay, so right internal thoracic vessels, margin of right lung and pleura, and also the chest wall. That is about the anterior relations of superior vena cava. Coming to the left side relations. Okay, so what are the relations to the left side of this superior vena cava? Okay, so this is the superior vena cava. This one is the superior vena cava. Okay, so here there will be a right side relations. Here this side is the left side relations. Okay, so left side which it is in related to the ascending aorta. Here there will be a ascending aorta and brachiocephalic artery. Okay, so superior vena cava left side relations are ascending aorta and brachiocephalic artery. Okay, so these two are the relations of the left side of the superior vena cava, ascending aorta and also the brachiocephalic artery. Coming to the right side relations. Okay, So right side relations. So this is the right side relations of the superior vena cava. Here there will be a left side relation. This side is the right side relations of the superior vena cava. Okay. So right phrenic nerve and pericardio-phrenic vessels. Okay. Right phrenic nerve and pericardio-phrenic vessels. Okay. And also right lung and pleura. Right lung and pleura. Okay. So these two are the right side relations, right phrenic nerve and pericardio-phrenic vessels, right lung and its pleura. Okay. So this is about the right side relations. Coming to the tributaries. Okay. Tributaries of the superior vena cava is that, so right and left brachiocephalic, right and left brachiocephalic veins, and here there will be a azygos vein and also the mediastinal and pericardial veins. Okay. Right and left brachiocephalic veins, azygos vein, mediastinal and pericardial veins. Mediastinal and pericardial veins. Okay. So this is about the tributaries of the superior vena cava. Coming to the development is mainly by the two sources. Okay. One is extra pericardial source, other one intra pericardial source. Extra pericardial source, other one is the intra pericardial source. Okay. Extra pericardial source is that lower part of the right anterior cardinal vein. Right anterior cardinal vein. Intra pericardial source is that right ducta cuvea. Right ducta cuvea. Okay. So this is about the development of the superior vena cava. Coming to the clinical anatomy, so that is mainly obstructions of this superior vena cava. Okay, two types of obstructions will be there. First one is at the, so just above to the opening of azygos vein, one more obstruction below the opening of azygos vein into the superior vena cava. Okay, so obstruction of superior vena cava and development of collateral pathways. Development of collateral pathways. Okay, so first of all we will start with, so if superior vena cava is obstructed above the opening of azygos vein, above the opening of azygos vein. Okay, so here there will be a superior vena cava. Okay, so here there will be a arch of azygos vein. Okay, so these two are the right and left brachiocephalic veins. If the obstruction is just above to the opening of azygos vein. Okay, so at the time what happens? Okay, venous blood from the upper half of the body is shunted to the right atrium through azygos vein. Okay, venous blood from the upper half of the body is shunted to right atrium through azygos vein. There is a formation of collateral pathways which are provided by superior intercostal veins. Okay, collateral pathways are superior intercostal veins. Superior intercostal veins. Okay, so that is mainly above the opening of azygos vein obstruction. Okay. Coming to the, if superior vena cava is obstructed below the opening of the azygos vein, what happens? So venous blood from the upper half of the body is returns to the right atrium, through inferior vena cava, So collateral pathways are formed between the tributaries of superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. Okay, so that type of connection is called it as caval shunt. Okay, so obstruction is below the opening of azygos vein. At the time there is a formation of caval shunt. So there is a collateral pathways by the tributaries of superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava. So coming to the formation of thoracoepigastric vein. So it is the condition. There is a subcutaneous anastomotic channel between the superficial epigastric vein and lateral thoracic vein. Okay, so here there is a anastomotic channel which it is formed by the, this is the lateral thoracic vein, this is the superficial epigastric vein. Here there is a formation of anastomotic channel. So in between the lateral thoracic and superficial epigastric vein, here there is a formation of thoracoepigastric vein. Okay, is seen on the anterior aspect of the thoracoabdominal wall. Okay, so it is a subcutaneous anastomotic channel between the superficial epigastric vein and lateral thoracic vein. Okay, is seen on the anterior aspect of the thoracoabdominal wall. Okay, so there is a formation of thoracoepigastric vein. Okay, is it clear for you all? So can we summarize the superior vena cava? Okay, so this is the superior vena cava, 7 centimeters long, 1.25 centimeters in diameter. It lies in the superior and middle mediastinum. So its extrapericardial part is superior mediastinum, intrapericardial part in the middle mediastinum. Okay, it collects the blood from the upper half of the body and drains into the right atrium. Formation is mainly by the right and left brachiocephalic veins at the lower border of right first costal cartilage. Okay, course is that is vertically downwards behind the right border of the sternum and pierces the pericardium at the level of right second costal cartilage. Coming to the termination within the right atrium, into the right atrium at the lower border of the right third costal cartilage. Okay, so first level there will be a formation, second level, that is the second costal cartilage level, is the cause, and third costal cartilage level is the termination of the superior vena cava. Subdivisions, extrapericardial and intrapericardial parts. So relations, anterior relations are right internal thoracic vessels and right lung, pleura, and also the chest wall. Left side relations are ascending aorta and brachiocephalic artery. Right side relations are right phrenic nerve and pericardiophenic vessels, right lung and its pleura. And tributaries are right and left brachiocephalic veins, azygos vein, mediastinal and pericardial veins. And development is mainly by the extrapericardial by anterior cardinal vein, intrapericardial by the right duct of Cuvier. So obstruction is in two levels. If superior vena cava is obstructed above the opening of azygos vein, so at the time, so there is a formation of collateral pathways. Okay, so that is provided by the superior intercostal vein. And second type of obstruction is that below the opening of the azygos vein, at the time collateral pathways are also formed between the tributaries of superior vena cava and inferior vena cava, that is the caval-caval shunt. So there is a formation of thoracoepigastric vein formation. So that is the anastomotic channel in between the superficial epigastric vein and lateral thoracic vein, that is subcutaneous anastomotic channel. Okay, so is also seen on the anterior aspect of the thoracoabdominal wall. Okay, thank you.